Hello, my name's Dave Richardson. I've been asked by Beth from CJD Network to actually say a few words about myself. Right, I'll start from the beginning. I was born by caesarean section, born as 10 pounds 12 ounces. I ended up going to school, got to 8 years old and I stopped growing. My mother was very concerned that I was getting picked on at school. The correct progression on everything was very slow, so I ended up going to the doctors. The doctors went through normal tests and then ended up going down to London, Great Ormond Street. I was there for 2 or 3 days for all sorts of different tests. I'll never forget it. And got back and started off after all these tests at 11 years old on my first injections 3 times a week in my buttocks of growth hormone, the human form of growth hormone. So my mother was trained as an auxiliary nurse to put a cross on an orange as it was a top quadrant, so whether it was my right bum cheek or my left bum cheek, and went on from there for years. Got to when I was 20, from 11 until I was 21. I had 1,760 odd injections. Near the end, my backside was as hard as a piece of leather, if not wood. It broke needles and also bent needles. You had to pull the needles out. Mother really struggled. She felt really bad about it all. And when I was 21, I finally went after every quarterly. I used to go to the LGI for tests for development, how well I was doing, until I got to a sort of an adult year of a 21-year-old, and the doctor, or should I say the professor, finally passed me off as saying, "Brilliant, you're done." So these injections didn't control my life anymore. So all my younger years I wasn't able to go on holidays with my friends or anything, or go. I had to always go back for these injections at tea time, after tea. So it always controlled my life for 10 years. So I ended up going and enjoying myself. And it was all good. I had my life. When I got to just sort of mid-30s, I had to go. I was married, very freshly married, and I got this envelope through the door from Leeds General Infirmary. I was instructed to go see my doctors or professor as soon as ever possible. I'm thinking, what the blooming heck is going on here? So I went and sat down with my wife, and I was told the news that I was at risk of contracting CJD. But this is the iatrogenic version. Never heard of it before, ever. So then I had to go from there, absolutely as though a bomb had gone off in my head. Didn't know what to think. Went home and had to tell my mother. That was a hardy bit. So, went from there. And I tried to live my life and everything. My mum ended up being in the papers, and the headlines was mother injects son with lethal injection, and it was my mother and me. So I ended up at my mother's house. There was police by the gate, and there was a multitude of different media there, just all wanted to get the story, and we just didn't want to say a word, but they wrote what they wanted to word. It was brutal, and it was all because of the mad cow disease. It was terrible times, terrible times. Not only did I have to tell my mum, and I also received the news, I've also, wow, it's like incredible, awful time of my life. And years went on, and it died down in all this sort of stuff. My marriage failed because of it all, the stress, everything. I tried my best, and in the end I just couldn't cope anymore with it, so I got a bottle of whiskey, and you can imagine what I was trying to do. And anyway, my mother found me, and there was vomit everywhere, and then I ran off, hoping that I would just die next to a tree, but I'm still here now. I feel like I have a purpose now. From that time all the way through until she passed away, my mother, which is now 6 years, I've had to make a pact with her, and I could not say anything because we had to live our lives, because it affected us very badly. It was brutal, it was awful. I don't know whether anyone else was, you know, the other recipients had any sort of thing like me, but I made a pact with Mum, and never said a word up until my mum passing away. And after that, once I got over everything with Mum, I went to the doctors, and my doctor couldn't believe what I'd been through. Told her everything, and she promised that she would look into it. So she did, and the same day, as soon as she's, you know, seen all her other patients, she had a look.
Hello, my name is Dr. Emily Muirhead, and I've been David's GP for the last 5 years. I first met him in 2019. He came to see me, and it was the first time he told anyone about his concerns about having a contaminated batch of growth hormone and how he was worried about having the risk of CJD in the future. And this had obviously been playing on his mind for some time. It wasn't something that I was aware of, and I listened to him and said, I think I need to pull your paper records through, because now we're on computer records. The time frame he was referring to was when he had we had paper records. Anyway, I got the paper records out and gave them a shake, and this is their thickness, and this piece of paper dropped out, and it said Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease secondary to pituitary growth hormone, a laminated piece of paper, and on it was his name, and it was double-sided, explaining exactly what he'd told me in the consultation. And it said if I had any questions, I was to ring someone called Professor Priest or Dr. Adlard, and the phone number on there was an old London number, because that's how old the piece of paper was. And so I got the phone number, I converted it to the sort of modern London style code, and someone answered the phone, a male voice. And I said, hello, I'm not sure if I've got the right number, but I'm a GP, and I've just spoken to a patient who is concerned about contaminated growth hormone and is worried that they might develop CJD. I don't suppose you know where I could speak to Dr. Adlard, could you? And the man on the end of the line said, Well, this is Professor Adelhard speaking, but you're very lucky to have caught me because I'm retiring tomorrow. So it was just the strangest conversation, but I had a long chat to him, and he basically advised me to refer David on to the Prion Clinic in London.
It turned out to be my old professor who put me onto the growth hormone injections right from the very start. So she's very lucky, and we've gone from there. They knew about me, they knew I existed. Wasn't sure whether I was still alive or not because of everything what else is kicked off. Because some people have passed away, other people have changed their surnames, some people have travelled abroad. So it's all about, you know, there's no real data, there's no proper figures. So anyway, I've come forward and they've welcomed me with my open arms. Now I go down for tests, make sure I'm alright, and if there's any tests who need to be checked, to be trialled or anything, I go, yeah, me, I'll do it, by all means. Well, so what I'm doing now is I help with CJD network, raise awareness, and sponsored walks. I've raised 2,500 with my son, my 2 dogs, and do everything I can, trying to get people together, answered some emails from people in desperate, so yeah, so just doing everything I can.